Bibbidi
Yo, what's
bob.
going on, guys? My name is Sky, aka Skybreak,
I'm Dan, Paper Skies.
and this is the first ever episode of the Skycast.
Skycast is a brand new series where we're going to be interviewing and having conversations with some of our favorite up-and-comers in the bass music industry, along with some friends. Today, we have, in fact, brought some friends onto the scenes.
Yes, we've got Eric, aka Aura,
Hi.
and we have got James, aka Millennial Trash.
Hello.
They are a dynamic duo from Dallas, Texas, with several collaborations that have reached the ears of millions, including Noddin', which combines their signature styles and has gone on to receive over 500,000 streams on Spotify. They've both got releases on Circus Records, Rushdown, Disciple, and Monster Cat. Millennial Trash has actually recently featured on my EP Lumina. You can see the little poster back there. Aww. And he's got an official remix for Funkcase and collabs with Chime and Prismatic, whereas Ace Aura has collabs with bass heavyweights like Subtronics, Tynan, Chime, and many others. They basically come together to make one of our favorite duos with really cool music and even cooler personalities, which you guys will be able to see today. How you guys doing?
Shucks. Shucks.
Yeah,
Oh, shucks.
let's just get started simple, man. How you guys doing today?
I mean, I'm doing all right personally. It's a little bit hot. It's getting warmer.
Monday was pretty warm. It was like 88 or something like that.
Yeah,
So
it was
it's
toasty.
getting cranking. Yeah.
So
I walked outside in jeans, not expecting the 88, and I pulled out my phone to check, and I was like, "That's why I'm sweating."
yeah, up in Canada, we're in like the middle of April and getting random rain and hail and occasional snow. It's been like super busted weather. I don't really understand it.
we did have
like
busted
80
weather this winter. We got like
Oh, yeah.
so much snow and ice and crazy stuff, but like to the point where we hadn't had it in like 100 years. But
Dude.
Well,
yeah, it was crazy.
doesn't seem to be affecting the bass industry much. I know, Eric, you've been doing a couple things here and there with drive-in shows. How's the experience
Yeah.
of that, man? That's a whole new way
Yeah.
of like performing to people, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's very different from the traditional show experience. Like, it's good to have a form of kind of a live experience with COVID, but it is very different. Like, it doesn't really feel as personal. I personally like really enjoy the experience of like a really tight packed club where everyone's like right up against each other because it feels much more like connected. But drive-ins, like everyone's a million years away, so it's a little different. But very grateful to be able to do that sort of thing with COVID and all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that like pod experience where they've got like the little fenced off like cubes with a bunch of people just chilling in each one, and it's like it looks something out of like a sci-fi film. It's super trippy.
It's definitely a little weird, but it's what we got right now, and it looks like things are starting to get better. So that's
Yeah.
really nice.
Before things really started to get rocky, we've seen in the past that you guys have done some back-to-backs, if I'm correct, together, some shows.
Oh,
So
yeah.
for people who are maybe just, hearing about your music for the first time now through the podcast, which I don't assume is going to be many, the names for both of you guys have been going absolutely everywhere all over the internet. But tell us a little bit about your style and the sort of music that you're making right now.
James, you go first.
No. Nope.
Fine. All right.
After you.
Fine. I make what I like to call melodic rhythm. I combine kind of the heavier elements of the rhythm style of dubstep with the more melodic side of dubstep, and I try to combine those into one element as much as I possibly can, rather than kind of separating the two. And that's just kind of what I've been doing. I've been incorporating elements of trance, a genre called hard wave, a lot more recently, just kind of taking all my musical inspirations and fusing them into one thing.
James, yeah?
For me, I write kind of whatever in the electronic music world. I've done drum and bass, I've done dubstep, house music. With my old alias, it was a lot of house music. I'm more influenced by the UK side of stuff with the big one-note riff kind of wobble bass lines. And also the stuff that's in drum and bass right now they're all kind of meshing together to create this kind of cool, weird hybrid thing. So, yeah,
Totally.
just kind of all over the place. Yeah.
Nice. All right. I'm really, really excited to see you guys finally both get back on the stage together.
Definitely.
Do you
Me
have
too.
Do you have any
Me
plans
too.
in terms of any stuff that you might be working on together as a group or anything as a duo? It's nice to have you both on here, and I know throughout the whole history that I've seen you guys since getting involved at Rushdown and everything, you've always really stuck together. Any plans there?
I mean, as far as shows, I don't think we have anything lined up, but we did just drop a collection of Noddin' remixes that were
Yes.
pretty sweet.
Yeah, we put out a remix LP because, sure, it's a pandemic. We're gonna freaking do it. Yeah, it's freaking dope. We wrote Nod 2. That's the first track on there, and then a whole bunch of talented producers are on that. And there's literally all the. I love all of the remixes. They're all incredible.
I'm not gonna try to list them all because I'm gonna forget someone. I'm gonna feel really bad. So,
what was it like curating 13 remixes for one song? Like, how did you get all these people on board? And like, you know, I don't know, like, wasn't it like a logistical nightmare trying to get these people to all finish one song at one time?
Like, surprisingly, not really, because Landon really helped out with a lot of the organization.
Landon.
And also, we really had a pretty loose time frame on when to get these done. Like, we sent out stems, what was it, like October of last year?
Time ago.
Or like September of last year, and we were like, hey, these exist, have fun, you know, just let us know what happens.
Yeah.
And then, like, around January, February time frame, we started getting links from people, and we were like, oh, okay, this is turning out pretty cool.
That's crazy.
So,
and Landon, being the three of you guys, is actually manager, correct?
Yeah.
yes.
How does it feel working all under the same management, having all of this like melodic talent just grouped together? Are you guys excited to maybe, you know, eventually be doing like big activities together?
It's really fun. I enjoy all of the people that Landon manages, and it's really cool that I'm like particularly close to James and Skybreak, and, like everyone in that kind of realm. And so it's cool having all of that kind of similar sound combined into one small group that Landon's able to like push forward.
Would you guys kind of say the group like feeds off of each other away for inspiration and ideas?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're always texting each other whips and just like, hey, check this out, or hey, check this out, and feeding off of each other like that.
That's
For
great.
sure, definitely. And also, what's great about Landon is, despite him kind of making it all into a family, like we got our group chat, we all kind of hit each other up for like plates and whatever. He also is able to put the focus into each project so they all have their own unique identity. Like, I know this is an interview about y'all, not me, but it's like my experience. But man, my experience with him has been very good on that front. Like, I never feel like I'm kind of basking in the shadow of Eric or anything, you know. I think it's always, he's pushing everyone to their full limit, and then everyone being friends is kind of like another level of it.
Yeah, it's like icing on the cake.
Moving over into a completely different category, recently, by the time this comes out, Eric, you have dropped a collab with Subtronics. What was it like? What was it like working with him when you guys have such drastically different theologies and brands?
It was really interesting. Like, of course, I always have to make sure whatever I release is kind of like on brand with like me and my style. Like, I'm a Christian, that's a very big part of what I do.
Yep.
And so we had to like make sure to keep it clean. He was totally on board with that. There was no issue there. The way that came about was we have the same booking agent, and he put us together on a few drive-in shows, and we had played like 3 or 4 together, so we had seen each other quite a bit. And I was thinking, and I was like, our styles combined would be like really unique and something that no one had really heard before. And so I walked up to him after one of the shows, and I was like, hey, we should work on something. Like, this would be really cool. And he's like, you know what? You're right. And so I sent him stems. He worked on it, and then I worked on it, and that became Resist. So, yeah.
Nice.
There you go. That's crazy, you know, how you combine this, like, super nice, geeky, melodic rhythm stuff with, like, super stonery, you know, in the club headbang stuff. But it actually works, like, really well. And it's like, it works.
I really like interesting collabs like that, especially, like, I'm sure you guys have heard by now the Must Die and Scream and Echios collab, right?
Yeah, big tune.
Oh, yeah.
Like, no one expects that to be a thing, and then you listen to it and you're like, wow, this should be a thing.
It's so nice.
Works.
It's so nice.
It's real good.
So pretty.
I think those off-genre collaborations are the best ones, because it's almost like when you have two artists that have a really, really refined sound and know exactly what they're trying to do with their own approach, you can take that into any genre, you know? I think for the both of you, Eric with this melodic rhythm, and as off-camera discussed, this Yoi-based kind of trend that Millennial Trash has been following, it's really cool to see how you can take your sound as an artist and push it into a different genre. And I think, Eric, you working with Subtronics, like, you've got 2 completely different niches there, and you've managed to, you know, create this electronic baby that makes some great dubstep.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. Like, I think a big part of being a musician, I think part of what makes music fun is creating something of your own and then just kind of branching off of that and doing whatever you want with it. I always find that like when I'm looking through social media or listening to my favorite artist's music, the ones that are having the most fun to me are the ones that are making the best music. And part of that fun process is feeling creatively free to like do whatever with whoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, opening up your process more. Speaking of trying things, a little bit out of the genre realm, question for you, James. Back when you were under the alias Reflect, you had worked with your friend Artur Nelson. I hope I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah.
And you took a bit of a step away from dubstep into more of like a Madion-esque pop, like melodic kind of thing. How was it working more out of your genre and producing for somebody else and their vision and their track?
So Will and I, we went to college together, and in college we didn't really talk to each other all that much. Like, okay. I was a music business major. He was a biblical studies major, I think, or something along those lines. It was some theology-based thing. We went to a Baptist university together.
Gotcha.
And he ended up leaving the university like a year after I got there, and then we connected like a year later through a mutual friend. And I've always loved making just really ethereal, patty kind of stuff, just for fun. I'll literally sit here sometimes with the keys and just play a chord, hold the pedal, and go.
Just ear candy, yeah.
Just like that, yeah. It's just nice. Dude. It's nice sometimes, So Will and I started working together, and we actually have like 8 tracks right now that are like done. It's kind of almost a full-length album, and they're all pretty cool. Like, we tapped into some like the 1975's production style,
nice,
and all kinds of stuff like that, and it's pretty cool. Like, it's also really nice that for dubstep and the kind of stuff that I like to make, there's not really like a right answer, if that makes sense, for the genre. Like, you can just do whatever you want to. I mean, when I heard Sky's track that I did the vocals on, I was like, excuse me? What?
Yeah, sure thing, bro.
Calm down, please. But it's nice to make a genre of music that has more of a formula to it, because my brain likes that too, where if you put 2 and 2 together, you'll come out with 4. If you put an 808 and a Moog together, you're going to get this cool kind of The Weeknd vibe, and it's going to sound cool. Yeah.
The follow-up to that, I think you answered it a little bit there, James, by saying that you have all these tracks in the works, but are you guys working on anything outside of the dubstep realm that you're excited for, or have maybe even for the potential far, far future, as careers take off?
So there's one track that we've been working on where he is just giving me free reign to kind of do whatever production stuff I want to.
Nice.
And just kind of make the drop as ridiculous as possible. And he really likes Eric's stuff too, like all the color bassy kind of things, so I'm going to try to incorporate some of that in there.
Nice.
So I'm not working on a ton of stuff that is outside the dubstep realm, but I've noticed that I went through a pretty bad writer's block a couple months ago, or I guess like a month ago-ish.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Yes.
Can I interrupt real quick? So yeah, he knows exactly what I'm going to say. So we were trying to get together to work on Nodden 2. I think this was in January.
Okay.
And he came over to my place, and we were sitting, like, he was literally sitting right there. I was sitting right here. We were working. And we sat for, like, 3 hours straight and literally got nothing done. Nothing. We sat here, and we were just, like, messing around, and literally no progress was made. Yeah, and we were like, let's just revisit this in, like, a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
No, dude, that happens a lot. Everyone expects, like, IRL collabs to be this, like, super easy, free-flowing thing. And frankly, I don't know, I'm always a bit more of an introvert. I have to do, like, a bunch of stuff and then pass the stems or else I carry it. Like, I've met up with Dance Demand in person a few times now, and the running joke is we cannot get a collab past 8 bars. Because we'll always just find something to do. And we got one past 8 bars, and then we mutually agreed we hate this.
I feel like collaborating in person is a little bit difficult for me, because I guess it's just like a change of environment would be the main thing. Like, even when James and I work together, usually it's the case where we're like working on different sections. Like when we worked on Nodden 2, I was working on that like last hard wave drop for the most part on my laptop on the couch, and he was working on like the first drop and the intro mostly on his computer. And so it's like it's kind of hard for me at least to like work on something on the same device with someone and like bounce back ideas that way.
Yeah, and especially because we mix and master differently, a lot differently. And I'm happy with the way that it turned out, but for a second there, I was a little scared that it wouldn't translate, but it did.
It did. It worked.
Yeah, it's always tough sometimes, I think, to figure out, who's going to do that final mix down, that final master, especially if, like you said, you have two very different ways of going about it, but, you're both do it in a pristine way. Like, it sounds clean, it sounds quality on both ends, but it's different, right? Do you think there's a setting that exists where collaborations can be easier like that? Because in my experience, trying to do in-person collaborations with people, if it's, in their home, just like sitting in their room with my laptop, trying to get ideas out, it's always super challenging because you're not in a super musical space. You're hanging out with your friend who you don't see often. You want to go out and do things with them. You want to be excited and be physical. But when I've gone to an actual studio space, where the whole idea of you being there is you've rented it out and you've paid cash kind of to like work specifically on music. Have you ever had any experiences like that before?
The way I prefer to work on collabs is to pass them back and forth over the internet.
Yeah.
Either through stems or project files. I find that allows me kind of space to like be in my own head to work on something. And then when we pass it back, like they're in their own head to work on it. It's like, I think sometimes collaborating in person can be difficult because so many ideas going around at once can be kind of hard to put into one thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, Eric and Artur are the only two people that I've really worked with IRL for collabs, and I haven't really collabed with too many other people. I like taking my sweet time with music, and I put stuff out whenever it's ready. So collabs don't really fit that style, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as far as like the collabs that I've done, passing them back and forth on the internet, even though Eric lives 20 minutes away from me, like it's easier to just send a Facebook link. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, there definitely is a lot of pressure in collabs that like you gotta get it all done and there's gotta be this perfect blend of styles or whatever. I've found a lot of the time when I'm doing collaborations with other people, it doesn't usually go like that. Usually it's like one person does a lot of the work and that's it, because one person gets into the mindset and the other doesn't. And I think you can't really rush music, especially when you sit down and have like a dedicated session for it.
So yeah, you say you live 20 minutes away from each other. The in-person collaborations don't seem to work as well as the Facebook ones. And in my personal experience, again, having that studio space and renting that out totally works. Eric, when you said there that you haven't actually ever worked in a studio before, it's little experiences like that without sounding like too rude, I would assume that the both of you guys have had with the level of production that you're at and the stats that you've reached. So this kind of moves into a little bit of a more sensitive topic perhaps. But do you think that COVID has kind of prevented you guys from experiencing some of the opportunities you might have received with where your careers are going right now?
Yes. Right before COVID happened, I was scheduled to go on tour with Ulasile and Ominous.
Wow.
And then the first tour date was going to be in like either April or May. And then March is when COVID hit and everything shut down. And so I was really bummed about that.
Yeah.
But
that sucked.
So that happened. But I think there were also a lot of good things that came from it. It allowed me a chance to really focus on my production, on the music, and a lot of other opportunities came as a result. I'm not sure if I would have been added to a United Talent Agency under Jake and stuff, if there wasn't a point where they were like, we're not making a lot of money, let's take on more artists. I'm sure that was part of the process. And so, like, I'm sure there were a lot of good things that came from it as well. But it definitely was a bummer for a while.
The short answer is 1,000% yes. When I rebranded as Millennial Trash and stuff, I had kind of a game plan going for, hey, I got this EP, I'm going to do a single here with Chime. I'm going to do a single here with Eric and this kind of thing, and then try to relaunch really hard in 2020. And yeah, that just kind of put a stint in the plan a little bit. But again, like Eric said, it gave me time to focus on production stuff, and I wouldn't have been able to write all the songs with Artur.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be working on this new EP that I'm working on right now. Wink, wink. I also I play drums in a band as well.
Oh, that was going to be one of our questions, actually.
Was it really?
We'll get to that next then.
Okay, yeah. So we ended up recording all of our parts separately, but we recorded a live record of our first EP.
Ooh.
So
okay.
Over the quarantine. So that was really fun, and we wouldn't have done that without the pandemic hitting. So
Going back to that kind of drums thing, I'm a drummer as well. How do you guys think that initial perception of rhythm that you gain when you like play a bunch of drums, how do you think that's affected your DJing and production and like, how you write stuff?
Eric Seal, sir,
Well,
would you like to answer this question?
I'd love to. I also played drums in middle and high school.
There's 3 of us.
Yeah, and I was in the band program in middle and high school as well. And so I think that's where I got a lot of my inspiration for my sound. If you notice, in a lot of my songs, I use the marimba. It's not necessarily an every song thing, but it's an instrument I like to use a lot. And I discovered that instrument in high school, actually, through marching band. I played in what's called the front ensemble my freshman and sophomore years there.
The pit.
Yeah, the pit. And then I was also in the drum line my junior and senior year, and I had a few in drumline elements in some of my songs as well.
Nice.
So it definitely inspired the way I produce a lot, and it kind of also helped me to realize that drums are super important in electronic music. I really didn't wrap my mind around that as much until like the past few months, actually. That's something I've been working a lot on my more recent tracks. It's like the sounds you select for your drums are super duper important.
For my first EP, I was experimenting a lot with just like straight up drum breaks, because that's kind of what they do in the drum and bass world. Is it's the amen break and only the amen break. You know what I mean? And people just go absolutely bonkers in the club over it.
Yeah.
So I was trying a lot of experimentation with just having raw drums. So like in Losing My Mind, in the B section of the first drop, there's just 2 instances where it's raw drums and that's it. And my drummer brain really, really liked that, and so I'm trying to incorporate that some more. But I usually start all of my projects with the drums and then build the melody around that, because melodies can vary in different cultures.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, different cultures have different scales. There's been different scales, throughout the past as well. But rhythm and drums and that kind of like old school tribalness to it, I feel brings people together more than melodies do. But again, I'm a drummer, so I'm biased. So what do I know?
Fair
I'd
enough.
agree with that for sure.
Nah, I get that totally.
Like, okay, for instance, the song "I Want Candy." You know what I'm talking about? When those drums start up at the beginning, everybody knows what track it is. Everyone knows what it is. And there's been so many different versions of that song over the years, like so many different covers and stuff like that, but they all start off with that groove, and everyone knows what it is.
Kind of branching off of that, when I was in jazz band in high school, one of the most valuable lessons I ever had from my jazz band teacher was he sat down with his guitar and he said, you can play whatever the hell you want. If it's in rhythm, it'll sound like you're actually doing it intentionally. So then first he played he got the band to vamp, and then he played a bunch of notes in key but with no rhythm, and it sounded like a fucking train wreck. But then he just played all this dissonance with rhythm, and we were like, oh, okay, this is actually kind of cool. And I kind of kept that in mind. I'm like, if anything works with a good rhythm, then what possibilities did that open? I mean, not obviously anything works. If you're doing chromatic dissonance, that's kind of terrible.
I think that's why rhythm is such a hot commodity right now, is because it's literally a basic drum beat with a basic synth line. Basic. I'm talking about as far as notation goes, not sound design goes, because that's a whole other ballpark.
Yeah.
But it's that simple. Everybody can get with this. Everybody can clap to this. It unifies the club in an instant. And
so you guys both made your Rushdown debut roughly in 2018. And it's been a long time. It's almost 4 years now, right? It's crazy to think. And I remember personally when I was on Rushdown, seeing Eric and join for the first time and hearing Ensnared, I was like, whoa, this is a totally new sound. And I was kind of on the fence with it, not in the way that I either liked it or didn't like it, but I was like, does this have the opportunity to become something more, or is this kind of a one-off tune and then he's going to continue going back to the dubstep stuff that I was hearing on 99 Lives when you were releasing with them? Right? And you did. You pushed the style completely and turned it into, what now is kind of considered color bass. Do you guys think that your styles have changed a lot since your Rushdown debut? Only a little bit? Like that first release, was it really what set up your style?
I think it depends on who you ask. To me, I feel like my sound has changed a lot since the early Rushdown days of my releases. I feel like if you'd ask someone that wasn't familiar with my music, they'd be like, "Oh, these both sound pretty similar." Well, I guess at the beginning of Rushdown, you were talking about releasing Ensnared. At that point, I really hadn't kind of infused the melody with the heaviness like I wanted to. Like it still felt separate. And I think over time, I've been able to better mesh those into one element. Like the heavy elements are melodic. And I've also started to incorporate some more elements from different genres. Like I started really trying to incorporate the trancey kind of stuff in my song Flow in 2019. Kind of took a little bit of a break from that, but now I'm starting to add it in there a little bit more again. Adding stuff from Hardwave. I released a song or a remix for Nurko a little bit ago that has 2 Hardwave drops and then 2 melodic rhythm drops. I think over time I'm just starting to feel a little bit more free and just incorporate more elements from other styles that I've enjoyed throughout my life, like Hardwave, Dance Dance Revolution type stuff.
Yeah.
Just that kind of thing.
I remember you telling us all the time in the Rushdown chat how inspired you were by a lot of Must Die stuff, and eventually he came out to support you and a lot of the works that you were doing. So it's cool to see things kind of come full circle now. You have like taken inspiration from artists like Must Die and really crafted it into your own thing, and now it is the Ace Aura sound that everyone's trying to replicate, right? What about you, James? Moving on to you and your music.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. And a lot of it comes from hanging out with Eric, because he sent me, the first time we hung out and had a production thing together, he sent me like a bunch of Ableton racks that he had made. And yeah, and so I started putting that on everything. And I have now kind of modified all the racks that he sent me to these things that I call one of them the idiot rack, because you can put it on anything and it makes it sound 1,000% better. And it's got a whole bunch of cool macros and stuff. But yeah, when Holding On came out, Chime actually mixed that song. I sent him the stems for it, and then he mixed it himself.
Okay.
Because I was out of the country during that time. So what happened was, I had the stems put up on my Dropbox like right before I left, because I had a friend that he mixes like gospel stuff, and he just wanted to take a whack at one of my songs. He was just like, just send me stems, it'll be fun. I was like, okay, cool. So I had the stems ready to go, and then I sent them over to him, and he mixed it and sent me the final mix, and that's when I was like, I should probably start talking to these people about how to make music and stuff like that. And then once I started doing that, I feel like my music elevated to the next level for sure. And then like in 2018, 2019, that's when I started getting really back into drum and bass, and started kind of trying to go more that direction. And then that's where the Funk Case one came out, which the Funk Case remix was a bit of a fluke. I don't know, in my mind. Like, Landon sent me the stems one day and was like, hey, these exist. Put them on the back burner. Don't worry about it. Focus on your EP. And I was like, cool. But they're Fun Case stems. So I immediately opened them and started working on it.
Yeah. You gotta.
And so I was playing it at the original tempo and just kind of getting the stems organized. And I was listening to Spotify at the time, and a high contrast song came on with like this incredible female vocalist on it. I can't remember what song it was. I was like, oh my god, I need to do this at 174. And I did 174, and then it went from there. And I sent it to Landon. He sent it over to Funkcase, and Funkcase was like, yep, that's the one we're using. And I was like, really? You don't want another mix or anything? He's like, nope, it's good. And release it. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, that kind of touches back upon that like full circle concept, because again, you're inspired by that, Flux Dr. P circus sound, and now you're almost like a resident artist there. You got like 3 or 4 tracks there.
It's so weird. My buddy Eric, different buddy named Eric.
Oh, okay.
He was my neighbor growing up, like across the street, and his dad had this sick, huge hi-fi Sony sound system in his garage, and we used to go in there, and he plays drums too, so we would set up our drum sets together and like play System of a Down and Gorillaz and stuff with just the music blaring. But when we discovered dubstep, like 2008, 2009, 2010, we played like a lot of the circus stuff, and Cookie Monster's just entire discography at that time was like the nastiest thing I'd ever heard in my life. And I Circus Records became like one of my favorite things after that. And now that like I have some songs on there, it's really weird. Like, it doesn't feel like it exists still.
See your name on the covers and everything.
Yeah, that's why, like, on SoundCloud, I still have my cover photo as the Funk Case remix. To, like, remind myself. Like, yeah, other stuff has come out.
Yeah, that's so...
But that's up there because that's, like, I freaking did that, you know?
Yeah. Big accomplishment.
For sure, yeah.
You should be proud, man. I think we've reached the 30-minute mark of the interview, which means that we should probably get to our final segment that we have planned.
I was about to say, is this ad time?
We've done... No, not the ad time. Check out Rushdown. No, yeah. We did a little bit of a deep dive on some of your profiles, like we said before you got started here, and we've gathered some information. I've got quite a few questions about Eric. I think Sky has quite a few about James. So I think it's about time we start firing those off. But before we get into the big question portion, how did you guys eventually meet, and what got you started in producing music together, firstly?
Oh, this is a cool story.
It was... I think I had been producing for like 3, maybe 4 years at this point. Still was not very good by any stretch of the imagination. But I went to a church in McKinney called Christ Fellowship. And for one of their youth group activities, they were like, we're going to put together this like paint party thing. We're going to have a DJ that's playing electronic music. And it's going to be cool. And honestly, I didn't want to go because I heard like dubstep and Christian activity, and like I'm a Christian, that's like a big part of like what I do and like my life, but I was like, this is going to be cheesy and I'm going to hate this, and so I didn't want to go. But I heard like there's going to be a DJ there, right? And so I go over to the event because I was like, I want to maybe meet this guy since I make dubstep too. And I go there. James opens with an edit of the VeggieTales theme song and then goes into
my God.
Borg by Virtual Riot and Funcase, and I was like, all right, I gotta meet this guy.
Holy shit, dude.
It was an amazing set. It was a really cool event too, just all around like an awesome experience. And I talked to him afterward. I think this was like right after you started dating Morgan, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, she was. Okay. This was like a couple months after,
Yeah, because like, yeah, you were over there with her, and I went over to talk to you, and I was like, dude, that was so cool. You want to stay in contact? And I think we added each other on Facebook. And then I don't think we talked again for at least a few months. How did we end up working together on... What was the track? Monster?
What had happened was...
Okay.
So the Monster track, we'll come back to that. But I was on 99 Lives at the time. I was releasing with them, and then I sent them your stuff, and then your stuff came out, and then you got on Rushdown, and then you sent Chime my stuff. So it was like I scratch your back, you scratch mine kind of situation. But for Monster, we had some friends in the local Dallas scene that were putting together like a compilation of just like local Dallas artists doing collaborations together. It was just kind of like a cool little thing. And I think we had just been talking, and we were both in the scene, and we were like, screw it, let's try to make something. And then you came over to my place, and then we sat down and made Monster, which was such a weird thing for both of us, because like it's just not our style at all. But it was something I think at the time it was. Now I would say at the time it was probably our most, in quotes, controversial in our goopy artist brain, tracks, because we were kind of pushing ourselves out of our own comfort zone. But yeah, it was just like this little local Dallas compilation thing.
It was fun to work on. Like, to
be fair, we discovered a lot of cool sounds with that. We did make a lot of. We were like, oh, we need to save that one. Oh, we should save that preset. Oh, yep, we gotta save that one too.
I think that's when I initially sent you those racks as well.
Yeah,
if I remember
that was that time.
Yeah. Okay. So it was a good experience overall, for sure.
There we go.
EGAD. There you go.
Did you just say EGAD?
EGAD. Yeah, why not? I say all this weird bullshit, man.
You freaking Yankees, bro.
Yeah, alright. Whatever, man. We got this north-south divide going, I see. Alright.
Yeah, we do.
I see how it is.
Skybreak Millennial Trash tussle.
Alright, yeah, Dan, you can commentate because you're not in the country.
Yeah. I'll just be sitting on the sidelines announcing everything.
Up there with your
Canadian
healthcare and weed, bro. You're just like chilling.
Sitting there laughing.
Fuck yeah, man. Should we move on to the fun part of the podcast?
Hit it, Sky. I want you to start off strong. I want you to start off strong, buddy.
I'm scared, man.
What? James, your 92 Miata, your pride and joy. Tell us about it a little bit.
Alright, so May of this year will be 3 years of ownership for me for that car.
Congratulations.
I have always been into cars. My first word was car. Like, it was not mom or dad, it was car.
Amazing.
I've just always loved them. They're the most human material thing, I think, that we have, because your car is kind of an extension of you. Because it's the way you take care of it, it's the way you present it. But I've done quite a bit to it. I've replaced most of the suspension, wheels, tires, done some deletes. It's fully straight piped. It's kind of loud and smelly, and I love it. It burns a lot of oil, and it pops and bangs and shoots flames sometimes. It's freaking sweet, man.
To continue on there, have you tried to find any way potentially of like showing your love of like automotives and cars in your music or your branding in any kind?
So I have a song coming out this month.
Okay, now we've got some tea.
Let's go.
I got a song coming out this month. So I got a song coming out this month on Grave Dancer, and it's called Knock. The album art for it, or the single art, is literally going to be the stock 1.6 from the Miata, because they are plagued with this issue when they get old called rod knock, where if you hear rod knock, your engine is basically screwed and you have to get another one and throw it in there. I have a song that I've had on my hard drive since like 2018. I don't want to say what it is, but if you go listen to Eric and I's back-to-back at low frequencies on his SoundCloud from back in the day, it is in that mix somewhere.
Well, actually, we don't know when this podcast will be premiering, so there's a very high chance actually that Knock by Millennial Trash is out now for streaming.
Whoa! Yeah, go stream that if it's out, please.
If that's the case, yeah, feel free to go check it out.
I am very poor, so
all the revenue we can get, please.
When that one comes out, it's I think it's about 6 minutes long, and there's like ASMR stuff in it too, and I'm like trying to tell like a full story. Oh yeah,
crazy. So it's a whole experience.
I'm gonna take y'all to church on that one.
Nice.
I haven't gotten to use these yet, but I have live visuals now, done by the ever talented Monsta on Instagram. He made me like a GIF of me driving my Miata, and the headlights are going up and down.
That's amazing.
And it's like Ed and Eddie was my favorite cartoon growing up, so the art style is very similar to that in all of my visuals. So whenever shows come back for me, I am very much looking forward to throwing those up.
Cool connection.
I want to see that.
Moving to Eric, I've got some stuff on you. So you've been interested in music, if I'm correct, since you've been 8 years old, and you downloaded the full version of Pro Tools when you were 13. And immediately after downloading Pro Tools, you started the Ace Aura vlog series.
Oh no!
Oh no!
In that vlog series, you like to show us some of your upcoming music that you've got coming out, some of your work in progress, the equipment that you're working with. So the first question that I've really found from those vlogs, what happened to your Nutcracker remix?
Yeah, dude, the poor Nutcracker remix is gone.
So that was my first thing, I think, that I had planned to release and then didn't release. So what happened there was I started working on it, and of course a lot of my earlier stuff just wasn't great because I wasn't good at producing yet. But that one, like, I think I've, for most of my life, had a pretty good sense of like what works musically and what doesn't. And like I've had I guess a pretty good taste for most of my life. And I was making that remix and I was like, this sounds really bad. And so I stopped working on it and didn't release it.
In your second vlog is when you announced that the Nutcracker remix wouldn't come to fruition. Everyone was very sad about it. But what actually might have made that decision, you mentioned that your Carol of the Bells remix wasn't too well received because it wasn't too dubsteppy, it wasn't too bass heavy, it was more just like a written out kind of tune, right? Do you think that those initial comments when you were younger of people telling you, oh, this isn't dubstep enough, may have been what helped push you in the direction of dubstep?
That's a very good question that I had not thought about before. Of course, like any input I receive is going to affect my mind subconsciously. But I think I'd always been pretty set on making dubstep, like 140 to 150 kick on one, snare on three sort of stuff.
Gotcha.
Using drums that had no business being in dubstep at all, stuff like that. And that was all stuff I came to learn over the course of years that I took to learn making music. Honestly, if anything, that kind of helped guide me in the direction of what I was trying to do in the first place. Because when I was learning how to produce, like my only resource was YouTube. Like I didn't really have any people around me that were learning to produce. I was like 14.
Yeah.
And so just looking at YouTube videos and stuff, like I didn't know anything. I didn't know how important sample selection was. I didn't know where to find good samples. I was just using the stock stuff and Pro Tools. Don't do that. but it was, of course, it was a process, and I think the only reason I was able to stick through it and continue on to where I am now is because I enjoyed the process.
Oh God! All right, and James, just clap if you want us to cut this out.
Uh-oh.
So, James, it's interesting that in 2012 you scored an official remix slot on Skrillex's Revenge of the Synth EP on iTunes. Can you let us know how you kind of scored that?
Wait, what?
According to your Instagram in 2012, you have an official remix of Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites on Skrillex's Revenge of the Synth EP.
I do?
On iTunes.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Millennial Trash exposed.
But I'm willing to take the plunge.
Live on the Skycast.
So, okay,
you
Revenge of the Synth was a remix EP that I put out before I knew what copyright law was. And I put it up on CD maybe or something like that, and it had 4 remixes on it. It had Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger by Daft Punk. It had The Island Part 1 by Pendulum. I did a remix of that.
Good song.
Every Teardrop is a Waterfall by Coldplay. I did a remix of that. Yeah, and the last one, I'm trying to remember what it was. Yeah, oh my god, hold on. Do I still have this? Yeah, so it's back in 2013, my car got robbed in downtown Dallas, and they stole my laptop and my tractor controller at the time.
Sorry to hear.
Which sucked. And I actually had to sell a drum set to re-up on a new computer and everything. What the heck, dude? Wow, that is a deep dive. I completely forgot I did a remix of that.
We tried.
Wow. Nice
Aim
one.
to please.
Okay, moving back to Eric. You had a 50 subscriber special that you posted on your YouTube page, thanking everybody for all the immense support that you were receiving at the time, and showing off your setup, all of the gear that you were using. And you had some pretty nice pieces back in the day, I can't lie. You know, your speaker setup, your interface, pretty clean. But one thing that struck me was your M Audio Key Studio keyboard. It's the first thing that you have actually in front of your laptop, and what that tells me usually is that you're using it for some sort of production. Did you find that back in the day you were using your keyboard actually a lot in writing melodies or for producing, and do you still have that process nowadays?
Actually, that's a good question too. So at the time, I did use that keyboard to get melodies and ideas down, or at least to mess around and find something that worked, and then I'd write it down in the DAW with the piano roll or whatever. I don't do that anymore. I kind of just go straight to the piano roll, try out notes. I do think the workflow of playing something on a keyboard, even if you're just messing around, really does help with coming up with melodies and ideas. So I'd like to incorporate that again in the future. But another interesting thing is the monitors that I had in that video and the audio interface are the ones that I still use now. Literally, my headphones and mic are plugged into that Focusrite audio interface.
Well,
it's on its way out.
Special.
It's not sounding so good sometimes anymore, but I still have it and I still use it.
I don't have any left on James one, so if you want to ask the one for Eric.
Okay, yeah.
I'm afraid.
So the Ace Aura page on YouTube gave us a whole lot of insight about you and your brand and your start as Ace Aura under the alias, but we can even move a little bit further before the Ace Aura alias. And I want to ask, can you tell us a little bit about the Mega Block Arsenal, if you're familiar with that?
Holy. How did you find my other YouTube account? Alright, so I've always been a fairly creative fellow, right? Whether it be with music or otherwise. And I went through a phase in middle school where, I made those vlogs. That was all middle school too. But I also liked to make these really funny videos with my brother. I made some videos as school projects. But Mega Block Arsenal is because I have a little sister. She's 11 now. At the time, she was much younger. And she had Mega Blocks. And I was looking at them and I was like, I could make guns out of these. And so I did. And I made a video and the music in the background was was it August Burns Red or something?
Yeah, it was some rock or something. Well, funny to hear. I mean, the one thing take away from it, I think, is that you've always been creating content. Ever since before Ace Aura and everything, it seems like you were interested in being online and posting things for other people to watch. So seeing that start at the Mega Block Arsenal, it was a good starting point for sure to get some cool information.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I unlisted all my videos, man.
We would have found
one.
them.
I gotta check my old channel now. I had one that was like a clickbaity, like the most powerful Nerf gun in the world video, where I just like shot a regular Nerf gun and then edited like a gunshot sound effect and a muzzle flashing.
I think we're getting close to wrapping things up, but thank you for being on. It's been a great time. Last thing, I guess, before we head off, what should we expect from you in the coming few months?
In the near future, I've got a few shows lined up, so be on the lookout for ASOR shows in your area. Few releases, one self-release. I have not done an original self-release in a very long time. Some more releases on labels that I will not specify, with people I will not specify.
For me, I got Naka's coming out in May, so that'll be out by the time the podcast is out, so go stream that bad boy.
Perfect.
And other than that, hopefully by the time this is done, that one song that I was talking about is also done, and that will complete my EP, and then it will be released at some point, sometime, hopefully like late summer, early fall.
So some shows, an EP, if you got some big, exciting things coming from the both of you guys. But I think that about wraps it up. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast today. It's been a great time talking with you guys. Very excited to hear all these new releases, and I think that's about it. We'll catch you guys later.
For sure.
Adios, everybody.
Bye.
Signing off.
Bye-bye.
See ya. Okay, babe, we got it.